Turkey announces its intentions to mend ties with Europe. The Russian opposition leader says he will return to Moscow after an assassination attempt. The U.S. State Department cancels a trip to Taiwan, and a man smashes the windows of the New Zealand Parliament. This is the world at large, and we are Politics 1001. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The World at Large. This show is free for everyone, and to keep it that way, consider supporting us through the link in our description. You can support us by leaving a review, subscribing, and sharing with a friend as well. Now, without further ado, please enjoy this episode of our podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The World at Large, the best geopolitical show on the internet. You heard it from me first, that it is the best show.
Yes, and you heard it from me, because I am going to be talking about geopolitics. Congratulations, guys.
As usual.
I hope you
That's not a surprise.
I hope you did not click on this in order to hear about movies and, singers and pop culture, whatever, all that gooky, like, slimy stuff that I have no idea about. But Ian knows about that stuff. I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift mastermind.
Connoisseur. Neither am I.
Okay, Ian, sure. However,
He's way to expose me.
But I am, in fact, a very knowledgeable person about EU-Turkey relations. So which one's more helpful? Pop culture, EU-Turkey relations. Pop culture, EU-Turkey relations. I don't know. I think the answer is pretty clear.
He's just trying to make me angry today, it seems.
All right.
He has it out for me. He's gunning for me.
I do. I'm just going to rub my EU-Turkey knowledge in your face by talking about the relations.
You can talk about it. I was going to make a joke. You'll never get to hear it, though. That's what
I thought. All right. So, President Erdogan of Turkey has once again made the limelight of the world at large because he announced that his country, Turkey, is ready to repair the damaged ties with the European Union and get back on track to membership within the bloc. So, why would Turkey decide to do this now? Well, there's a variety of reasons, but they mostly revolve around economic reasons. Russia's kind of there. They don't like Russia. All these different reasons, and we'll go through them. But Erdogan's like, he needs some credibility. He needs to be like, yeah, well, I'm telling you, I'm willing to negotiate. Just look what I'm doing. Well, Erdogan has that credibility. He needs to prove to the EU that he's worthy of entrance into the bloc. So he did point to Turkey's push to negotiate with Greece in pursuing a peace deal, and Erdogan emphasized that he was ready to make legitimate peace talks with Greece. He said that Greece, we're fighting with them, but we are going to sit down and we're going to talk and we're going to create some type of arrangement in which, where I guess we won't fight with Greece. If that's part of the requirement, we won't do it. And EU, listen, I hear you. I understand. You want me to not fight with them. Okay. Greece, we can just stop, I guess. All right, well, we'll make peace. Well, at least we'll try to make peace. And so in a statement, he said this as well. We as a nation plan our future together with Europe, regardless of all the double standards and injustice we have faced in this process. We never gave up on our final goal of full membership. So Erdogan says injustices. You're trying to join the European Union. You got to make sure they know that they have a double standard, that they're very unjust, because that's how you get admitted into the European Union. And so these injustices that he's referring to revolve primarily around Greece's self-proclaimed defensive measures to militarize specific islands in the Aegean that are supposed to be off limits per the Treaty of 1923, the Treaty of Lausanne, which defined the modern borders of Greece and Turkey. And so Greece is militarizing these islands. They're not supposed to be doing that per the treaty. So, Turkey's like, oh, well, look at Greece doing that. I'm allowed to break the treaty if Greece is allowed to break the treaty. But now Erdogan's saying, all right, fine. Greece will break it, but we'll be the better man. Turkey, better than Greece. We are the better country. We are not going to have a double standard, unlike you stupid Europeans and your double standard. But also, I really want to join your bloc, so can I just let me in? And so that's what he's trying to say. What he's trying to say is that even with this in mind, even with this double standard, talks will still be happening, starting 12 days from after this will be uploaded on January 25th with Greece. And so Erdogan said this about talks with Greece specifically. We are inviting Greece, which has been increasing its airspace violations and unlawful activities in islands that are demilitarized, to give up their actions that are raising tensions. I believe that exploratory talks with our neighbor Greece will, God willing, herald a new period. So, new peace with Greece. That's what Erdogan's trying to say. He's saying, look, I'm willing to join the EU. I have this proof that I'm willing to, make some concessions, be a better man, be a better Turkey, but it's got to be a better EU. Be good, Brussels. Let me in. And so Greece feels, by the way, that it's necessary to militarize the islands for self-defense reasons. And due to Turkish aggression in the Mediterranean, because Turkey has if you guys remember, there was a lot of oil discovered there. Turkey wants it. Greece wants it. Cyprus wants it. They all want oil. I don't know why, but it's one of the 3 words of geopolitics: power, money, and oil. It's the 3rd one. And because oil is a part of that, it's got to be a really big reason for why they're fighting.
You're really proud of your 3 words, aren't you?
I am proud of them because it's true.
The holy trinity of geopolitical language.
Of Politics 1001. And,
yes,
of course, Turkey loves that oil. And Greece loves that oil. And so Greece is saying, well, Turkey is kind of infringing on my ability, my privilege, my right as the nation of Greece to take that oil for myself. They're taking it. They're sending us Royce to go and take my oil. And it's so mean.
They're there.
So I'm going to militarize the islands.
Oh, okay.
And Turkey's saying, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. And so there has been a lot of debate recently regarding Turkey's membership into the EU. Because although Turkey is a proud and mighty nation, showing they can make concessions, there's still some issues. But before we go over those issues, why don't we talk about why it might be good for the EU to let Turkey in, or at least have good relations with Turkey, because good relations are very crucial to the European Union. So, on one hand, if they joined, they would become the 5th largest economy in the bloc. And if you guys remember, a very, very large economy just left the European Union. And the European Union has this budget, and they need to replace this said country's expenses that they normally covered. I don't know what that country could be. It beats me. It's the United Kingdom. And Ian's like rubbing his chin over here. He doesn't understand.
Took a lot.
I told you, he only knows about Taylor Swift.
I don't even know that much about Taylor Swift. He thinks I do, but that's a story for another time. Maybe we'll tell it
at the end of the podcast when we tell our stories.
I don't want to tell. Okay, I will.
Okay, think of it. And so, what I'm trying to say, UK, big economy, pays a lot of the budget and expenses of the European Union. It's now gone. Turkey, they could replace the UK as that large economy that could cover these expenses of the European Union. Should we let them in? So that would be good, right? That's probably the biggest reason why it might be good for Turkey to be inside the EU from an economic perspective. Also, the other big reason, of course, is that Turkey is the gateway between Asia and Europe, and specifically the Middle East and all the wars going on there. And there's a lot of refugees from Syria and Yemen, Afghanistan. They all flood up that way, and they flood into the southeastern Turkey. And Turkey has to stem the flow of these refugees. And the people in Europe, the government in Europe, they send money to Turkey. They say, look, Turkey. It's not that I don't want the refugees. It's just that I think you should have the refugees, and so I'll give you all this money. Just keep them inside your borders, or just don't let them through. I don't care. Just I'll look the other way. Just do your thing. So the European Union does not want flows of refugees, a ton of them just coming into the EU, because once they enter Bulgaria, it's all over. They're gonna go everywhere because there's open borders, and the EU doesn't want to risk that. So they're saying, Turkey, you need to take care of this. And should relations be bad with Turkey, theoretically, the Turkish government could just flood the EU with all these immigrants. And that's not a very far-reaching thing to say, because Turkey has threatened to do that on multiple occasions as a way of kind of pushing their power in the European Union. So letting them in would be able to kind of dictate Turkish policy regarding refugees a lot more, and it'd be good economically for the bloc to have this large economy replace the UK, because now they would have to either shrink their budget or deal with a deficit. How do you say that word?
You're asking the
wrong person. They would have to deal with a lack of money. They'd be in a lot of debt.
Deficiency?
No. Wait, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not.
My English is clearly not the best. And so those are the 2 big reasons why. However, there's some reasons why not, and we're going to talk about those now. I know you guys have been waiting for it. So what's the biggest reason? Well, the EU has this thing. If you remember, 2 podcasts ago, we talked about how Poland the EU was considering withholding coronavirus aid from Poland because of them not being democratic, not meeting their standards. They said that with the LGBTQ issues in Poland, the crackdown on the press by the government. So there's all these things that are happening, and the EU is saying, well, you do not meet our standards for being a democratic nation. Therefore, if you're not going to do that, then you cannot be a true member of this bloc, and therefore you cannot receive coronavirus aid. Well, the problem is here, Turkey happens to be classified as not the most democratic nation by the governments of the European Union. This is by leaders themselves saying that, EU politicians. And so it would kind of be a little bit of a double standard to say we're all about democracy, and then but also Turkey is not democratic, but we'll still let them in. That's the issue, right? Turkey, not democratic. Should we let them in? Would that not go against our values? I believe it would, according to a lot of European Union politicians. So that's the debate, and that's kind of the reason why the process has been stalled mainly, is because Turkey's been moving away from a more democratic nation, and that's just what's happening. So this standard that's being set is really hindering Turkey's ability to actually enter the European Union, and so it's more classified, I would say, as an authoritarian nation by a lot of members of the EU. So there's the dilemma. The other one, and this is a very big one also, and this is not something that's said out loud. This is something that's kept a lot more quiet. But Germany and France dominate the European Union. They love the EU. They love having the power. They love asserting their authority over the rest of the bloc. Yes, they have to pay a lot of aid to them. We all have to pay a lot of aid, but at the same time, they can control them, right? They're an extension of the German-French Empire throughout Europe. And that's, to an extent, that's what's happening here. These nations, they need the aid from these countries. And because money is the first term
ding, ding, ding,
of our
ding.
of our geopolitical triumvirate. Ooh, I like that word because it's Europe. Because it's the first word of our geopolitical triumvirate. Germany and France like that. They like power. And money is power. So these two words tend to go together. And so if EU and Germany are providing this aid, they have a lot more power in the bloc. If Turkey came in the bloc, they would also be providing a ton of aid, and they would give Turkey a lot more influence, especially over the Balkan region, because they'd be so close to them. So the EU understands this. Germany understands this a lot. And so this is something they'd be wary about. This is not something that's said out loud, but it's very clear that the German government likes to assert its authority over the rest of the EU economically, not physically, because that would be very counterproductive to NATO. Now, wouldn't
Yes.
it?
And we all know what happens when the Germans do that.
Yeah, they lose. Us Americans, we're just so helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
We always come in at the last second.
Yes, we do. And take all the glory.
That's what we do.
I like taking glory. However, who else likes to take glory?
Putin.
Maybe so. That is something we will not be discussing because we are unbiased. But who does? Well, I don't know. I was going to say Alexei Navalny, who's the opposition
You're
leader.
setting me up for something there. It's not my fault. I'm not a mind reader.
Also, I was going to say Alexei Navalny is the opposition leader in Russia, but at the same time, I'm like, that would come off as bias. I was just trying to make a good transition. We're just going to move on.
You have the benefit of having notes. Whatever I say is from the top of my head.
Ooh, that's true. But they are but notes, Ian. It's not a script.
It's not a script. That's correct.
So,
Don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled. I'm doing a lot of this. I'm just thinking of it. I'm saying it out loud.
That's good.
Just using notes. And so Alexei Navalny, I'm moving on, guys, is the opposition leader in Russia. And he stated publicly that he will be returning to Moscow. So, why is this such a big story? Well, I don't know if you guys remember, but 4 months ago, he was transported to a hospital in Germany to what is most likely an assassination attempt. He was chilling in Siberia. He drank something he was not supposed to be drinking, and he passed out, and he got an emergency flight to Germany, and he received medical attention. He's fine. He's fine, obviously. He's returning to Moscow, but that, assassination attempt in Russia. And so Navalny said that he never chose to leave because a bunch of people were on his Instagram, and they were like, Navalny, why are you going to return to Moscow? Are you? Because I wouldn't do that. Personally, if I were you, I would not do that because, assassination attempts, it seems kind of scary, And so Navalny said, no. I will return to Moscow because I am the opposition leader, and I never chose to leave. I kind of passed out, and they took me from the country, but I never chose to leave. And so I'm going to go back. It's my country. He said, I love the streets of Moscow. I love the people. I need to be with my people. So there you go. Congratulations, Navalny. So he's going back to Moscow. So he said this on his latest Instagram post, and he said this specifically in regards to this question of would he be returning. The question of whether or not to return has never crossed my mind. This is because I didn't leave. I ended up in Germany in an intensive care box for one simple reason. They tried to kill me, and now Putin, who gave the order for my murder, screams all over his bunker and orders his servants to do everything to protect me from returning. The servants act as they always do. They fabricate new criminal charges against me. So Navalny does not seem to like Putin very much. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. Does it?
No, I think that's a good educated guess.
Yes. And so the Russian government, of course, has denied all involvement in what happened to Navalny and has been involved in many lawsuits with the opposition leader over the many events which have transpired in the past few months, because they don't necessarily want Navalny returning. They don't like him very much. He's kind of the opposition leader to Putin, but besides that, he's nothing, right? Just like the biggest political rival to Putin. And so, when is he going to be returning? Good question. He'll be returning to Moscow on January 17th.
It's like Gandalf the White. On January 17th, look to the east.
Yes, and so, as you can see, pop culture, guys.
I'm just making a reference. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Maybe you're like Josh and spend your time looking at geopolitics.
I actually got that reference.
Congratulations.
Yes, so as we have learned, Navalny is exactly like Gandalf.
Yes.
All right, so according to the spokesman for the Kremlin, Dmitry Peskov is his name, Navalny, as a Russian citizen, has the full right to return to Moscow. He works for Putin, but he's like, you're a member of Russia, come back to Russia. So Navalny is like, thank you, I'll come back. But this does not mitigate the fact that the Kremlin has said on multiple occasions that Navalny is an asset of the CIA, and he works for the American government, and he's very, very bad. So, meaning that relations will likely not be much better between Navalny and Putin, but that probably could have been assumed to begin with. And so, on another note, and this is just something I just saw on his Instagram when I was scrolling through his Instagram and translating it, I saw that Navalny in the past few days has also cast heavy criticism towards Twitter for banning President Trump. So that's interesting. He said that the president says a lot of stupid stuff, but that is an infringement on free speech to take people down on Twitter. And this is quite interesting because this is a news story in itself. I'm sure you guys have all heard this, but President Trump's Twitter has been taken down likely forever. And it will, if it's forever, it'll probably stay that way because, forever. And so Navalny's not the only one to say this. Germany, where Navalny went, they also said, a spokesman for Angela Merkel said, that's not good, infringing on free speech. The president of Mexico, Obrador, also said it was an infringement on free speech. Twitter says it's a violation of our policies. Trump is very bad, and so he needs to be censored, he needs to be at least the fact checks. The German government did say, well, we're okay with the fact checks, just taking him down is a little bit too far. But anyways, Navalny said, it's not good with this Twitter thing. You shouldn't be censoring people. However, Twitter does not look at it that way, like as I said. They look at it as more of a necessary step to be taken in order to preserve morality in society.
Very profound, very profound.
Very profound, Twitter. Okay.
All right, but before we get started, let me tell you about a free platform called Anchor. So, what is Anchor? Well, as I said, it's free. And what can you do with this free platform? Well, you can upload and edit your podcast from your computer or your phone, and it will distribute it for you, this entire app. So, if you're not an expert in Anchor, or you don't know anything about podcasts, then it's all fine because Anchor will do all of it for you. Anchor will send it to the most famous places for podcasts, such as Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. And what's the best part? Well, you can make money from your podcast. That's right, money. You could have 4 listeners and make millions of dollars. Anchor is there for you. Anchor is the way of the future. So if you are interested in using Anchor and you are interested in using this platform as we are, then please go to anchor.fm to get started. Anchor.fm to get started. Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. I recommend it, and so does Ian.
So anyways, I just thought you guys wanted to know that. But while you guys are thinking about that, we're going to be talking about IFF loans because I love the IMF. I just love it, the International Monetary Fund. Oh my God, I drool over it, seriously.
I bet you do.
Just as Ian drools over Taylor Swift, I drool over
scared. That's not true.
However, we're going to be talking about specifically the Extended Fund Facility, the EFF, which has agreed to the International Monetary Fund. They've agreed with them. It's kind of like it works with the International Monetary Fund to grant a loan to the government of Angola, which is a country in South Western Africa on the coast, and it's a grant, so it's not a loan. They don't have to pay it back. It's worth $487 million, and the reason that this was given out is due to the reforms being attempted by Angola. Because the IMF, we talked about it once, how they rejected a request from Venezuela to receive a loan, and however, Angola requested it, and they actually got it, but the IMF said you have to go through certain steps, you have to take certain steps in order to actually receive this loan. We're not just going to give you $500 million. I mean, who am I? It's not like my entire purpose is to give out money to people. And so...
well, maybe they should talk to the bots on Instagram. They would like somebody who gives out that money.
Oh, yeah. We get spam with these bots. They like to talk. They need their money. Something happened to them. There's some tragic situation, and they need money wired to them immediately. So maybe, you're right, Ian. Maybe the IMF should go on there. Keep these bots happy. But anyways, nice. The reason that this was given out were for these reforms. And so these reforms include mainly the government selling 195 stakes across the country. That stakes that the government holds in order to gain more money and to decrease its presence in the economy. It needs a lot. The Angola, because it was a client state of the USSR, it had a lot of power over the country. It was very present inside of the stock market. It controlled a lot of it, and so it had to create more of a free market system in order for it to receive these loans. And the IMF was saying, well, also if you sell them, then you'll have a lot more money to deal with your debt. So that's also kind of a positive. They did that. And so the main companies that they held stakes in include obviously oil, because Angola is a huge oil country, and then jewelry as well, diamonds specifically. Diamonds are a huge market there as well. So this was necessary to receive the loan. So Angola said, we do what we do. We do whatever we need to do to get that $487 million. So anyways, the Angolan economy has been struggling for a while under COVID. That's the point of this grant, is to kind of help them and to diversify the economy and tackle the hefty debt, which is now about 8% of their GDP. It's been growing a lot. The Angolan economy has been going down. The GDP per capita has been going down since 2013. So it's all these things that Angola is struggling with. So this loan, it's very helpful. They love it. Angola likes it. Oh, actually, they're a little bit angry about the loan, as we will see in a minute. But first, we have to see the statement released by the International Monetary Fund, which again gave them a loan. They said this, and quote, "Despite the challenges from ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Angolan authorities have demonstrated a strong commitment to sound policies under the IMF-supported arrangement. The authorities' robust policy has enabled Angola to weather large external shocks, most notably lower oil revenues, and mitigate their macroeconomic impact while protecting the most vulnerable. IMF is quite happy. They're saying, good job, Angola. You did it. You did it. You're so good at going through these reforms. You just listened to us, so here's $487 million. However, the finance ministry in Angola was very mad because they did not get all the money they wanted. The finance minister said that they were expecting $700 million and not $487 million. So, Angola, you got ripped off. That's the moral of the story.
Don't get ripped off.
Don't get ripped off. Do not make reforms unless you got the deal solidified.
Mm-hmm. Never make reforms unless it's solidified.
Yeah, but also take the $487 million. That seems like a lot of money.
I'd take it. Invest it in the podcast. I'd support the World at Large podcast with that money.
Honestly, I think that's the best investment the Angolan government could make.
Could be. I failed to come up with a better investment.
Me too. All right. Well, we're going to move on. So, what's up next? Well, we're talking about Taiwan. So the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Kelly Craft, had her trip called off just hours before she departed to Taiwan.
She probably had to unpack her bags and everything.
I know. Poor Kelly Craft.
Had to talk to the airline, cancel her tickets. Did she have trip insurance?
I don't know. I mean, you mean her assistant had to do that, because if you're the ambassador to the UN, you're probably not doing it yourself. And so, it's really hard for her. She just has to get off the plane. That's literally it. Everything else will be done for her.
Has to unpack her bags. Well, maybe people do that for her.
Maybe. It depends.
We'll get a diplomat on the show and ask them.
Yeah, these really important questions. And so, Kelly Craft had her trip canceled, but this was an announcement by the U.S. State Department that all diplomatic travel would be suspended for the most part to focus on the transition to the Biden administration. Because, guys, we have a new administration in the United States, a new president coming up, and if you don't know, I'm assuming you all know that since you're listening to this podcast, but if you didn't, Biden won the election. It was certified by the Electoral College that he won, and he will be resuming that position.
Thanks for letting me know.
You're welcome. I'm just trying to help the people out. And so that's what's going to be happening. And the State Department saying, we're going to help with the transition. We're going to make it smooth. We don't need to travel anymore. It's not necessary. We are happy people here. So let's just be happy, okay? And so that was the main announcement. But this was also in reaction to the Capitol Hill incident that we covered last week on the podcast. And they're saying that we need to focus just a lot more on... Clearly, there's a lot more chaos going on. We just need to calm down. Just focus everything on Biden. Let's stop. So, Kelly Craft, I'm sorry. I know you wanted to go to Taiwan. I wanted to go to Taiwan too. But you're going to have to come back and you're never leaving again. Because you are no longer the UN ambassador after, like, a week. A week from today, right?
That's tough for her. 24th, right?
Yeah, no, not a week from today, like 2 weeks, or less than between.
Do the math, Josh.
Between a week and 2 weeks, we'll just say that.
Okay.
And so, furthermore, this has been viewed by the Chinese government as a big relief/victory, since an ambassador from the United Nations traveling to a non-United Nations country from the most powerful country in the world. That's not good. That'd be very bad. And so, China and the United States would get some pretty nice tensions. They would increase pretty exponentially if that was to happen. Not that U.S. ambassadors have not visited Taiwan before under the Trump administration, but Kelly Craft herself doing it, well, that would not be good for the relations.
Big no-no.
Yes, very big no-no. So, in a statement in reaction to the last-minute cancellation by the U.S. government, was released by the Taiwanese government, and it said this specifically. We respect the decision of the U.S. State Department to cancel all planned travel of U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Pompeo, and we feel regret that Ambassador Craft is unable to visit Taiwan as scheduled. So Taiwan's so sad. They're trying to hide their tears, but they are very distraught that Kelly Craft will not be visiting. And so the statement about Mike Pompeo, in case you were wondering, was referring to Belgium because Mike Pompeo canceled his trip as well to Brussels and Belgium. Because he just, the transition team, no more diplomatic travel for the most part.
Imagine that, canceling your trip to Brussels.
I wouldn't, but I guess Pompeo has his own. He has his own priorities. So canceled to Belgium, canceled to Taiwan. It's just a really bad day.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. They're focusing everything on the transition to the Biden administration. Foreign policy is going to start to got to start reflecting Biden because he's going to be in office. So there we go. Pretty interesting. Good luck, Taiwan. Good luck, Belgium. I hope you can get over your sadness of not having U.S. diplomats visit you. I know.
I can't even imagine what that's like, canceling your trip. You had the kids signed up for activities in Brussels. You got a nice spa day for the wife, and now I have to stay home because of transitions of power.
I know. It's democracy, man. All right. So we're going to cover our last story now. And this story is the biggest story of the day. Because a man smashed the windows of the New Zealand Parliament, just the front door. He smashed them. He broke them. He brought an axe, and he went to town on those windows.
Wow.
Just broke them. And this is the huge story of New Zealand. It was across the land. Every New Zealander's heard of the evil man who broke the windows and then just stood there and did nothing. He didn't actually enter the building. He just, I guess that means he just looked. I don't know. I mean, I guess he probably didn't think he'd make it that far. I don't know.
I feel like that's a classic Kiwi move. Smashing the window and then being like, oh yeah, what do I do now? I was looking for the sheep. Accidentally smashed the window.
Yeah.
That's my New Zealand accent.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
But, since it's the middle of January, it happens to be summer in New Zealand, and which means that the parliament was not actually there, so the building was just empty, so he just smashed there are a few people inside, but, no politicians. And so there was no one there. He just broke the window. And this is according to the police report. When I say he didn't enter, they said, yeah, he just stood out there. So he's, yeah. They just waited there.
That's awesome.
He broke it at 11:25, I believe was the exact time. 8:25 in the morning. And then at 8:35, the police came and arrested him. He was just standing there. So
hey,
nice.
Guys.
Yeah, he got arrested.
Gonna arrest me?
He was 31. He was charged with intentional damage of property. However, the motive is unclear. Why would you smash a window? Maybe he was bored. Maybe he was hungry. Maybe he wanted to meet Ardern. I don't know.
Things you would do to meet Ardern.
Such as smashing a window. Very, very nice. However, he's been sent to a mental institute, and we don't know anything else besides that. The police would not tell us his name. They would not tell us anything about him, just that he's 31, and they sent him to a mental institute. So I guess you guys can piece everything else together from there, but that's the information we know. And however, this is pretty rare in New Zealand. The fact that he was able to do this shows that there's very little security in the Parliament building. Politicians in New Zealand will often walk around the Parliament building. They don't really have much security except the Prime Minister, and they kind of just chill. They do their thing. It's not a very violent country for the most part. And however, this has raised questions of it took in the capital in Wellington, in the Parliament building, it took police 10 minutes to respond to this. Should we increase security? I don't know. This is certainly a good debate to have. Because on the one hand, we don't like having security. It makes it scary. This is public space. Because the Parliament grounds are public space right now. If we increased it, would we have to fix that problem? I don't know. But on the other hand, a man smashed the window. So I don't know. It's a hard decision.
He was just doing it to meet Ardern, though.
or just look inside. Maybe the window. Maybe there's just a lot of condensation. I don't. That certainly could have been an option as well.
There's condensation.
It's summer.
You're right. And he was like, there's condensation. You guys are going to drown. So you open the window? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe he's just trying to be a nice guy.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Guys, you guys can make that decision because that is all we have planned for today. That's all the content that I have made. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I hope you very much loved learning about geopolitics and people in New Zealand smashing windows because I, for one, would totally love it, obviously, and so I hope you did too. However, before you go, you guys need to hear how important it is that you subscribe to this podcast. You donate to that link in the description. It is the first link. Go there. It's $1 a month. Please do that. You can support the podcast. You give us more of a incentive to create these podcasts because we're doing this for free, and we love it. But if you guys supported us, that would be awesome. However, we'll keep doing it begrudgingly, without. But if you guys could make this into full time, that would be awesome. However, so if you can't do that, please subscribe. Please share with a friend. Please make sure to leave a review. However, you guys might be wondering. How do I, public space, just share? What if I don't have any friends? What if you're like Ian and you don't have any friends? So I just need some way to share this with other people. Well, Ian is the expert, as I said, at not having friends. So he has literally millions of stories on how he shared this podcast with a friend. So Ian, why don't you go ahead and tell us about how you shared a podcast with a friend? You guys can emulate how it's done.
First of all, I have no idea how blurting out to strangers they should listen to the world at large is making me not have friends. It just blows my mind. Well, anyway, I don't know if you guys know this, but I used to work at Friendly's. Josh actually worked at Friendly's too, but he wasn't here this day.
What's Friendly's, Ian?
Oh, Friendly's is the finest establishment in all the land, in all the kingdoms. People from across the country and indeed the world come for the finest ice cream. And it's so fine, in fact, that nearly every location has shut down for obtaining too much money. Let's put it like that. So anyway, Friendly's is kind of vintage, so people from across the land, they come and get ice cream, and I'm working. This day's particularly hard. I'm scooping ice cream. I'm making all the Jim Dandies, and and I'm scooping, and there's a huge line, and all of a sudden I look down the line, and Let me ask you, Josh, have you ever been in love?
Yes.
Yeah. Then you know what it's like to see this beautiful creature and just know in that moment. Well, anyway, this beautiful female, tall, blonde, and I recognize her. It's Taylor Swift. And so I shout to the crowd and I say, "Begone, vile beast! Leave this fine establishment!" And they look at me, and Taylor Swift begins to turn, and I say, "Not you, angel. Come." She comes and she tells me, "I've been searching all the lands for the finest establishment of ice cream." And I say, "You found it." And I look at her, and she looks at me, and I say, "Have you ever listened to The World at Large, Taylor Swift?" She says, "No, I have not." And I say, "You should."
Oh my god, Ian, that was so beautiful. Yes. Guys, I mean, if that does not make you want to share with a stranger on the street, you should, because you know how difficult it is for us to be working at Friendly's, be working at that greasy, beautiful restaurant constantly.
It's beautiful.
But when Taylor Swift comes in and says hi to Ian, it makes it all worth our time. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, though, but mostly the story. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Donate to that link if you can, but if not, do something else to make us grow a little bit. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your week. We will be here next Wednesday unless something catastrophic happens, like Ian, it's another one of his celebrity crushes. Mm-hmm. But assuming that doesn't happen, you guys have a great rest of your week. We are Politics 1001, and you are listening to The World at Large. Goodbye.
Bye.